The things I'm going to tell you over the next hour are going to be uncomfortable, but I think it's things that we need to understand in order to win this fight. In general, anybody who wants to get gain that they have not earned is an enemy of liberty, or someone who wants to control someone else's life. It really boils down to those two simple concepts. Do I want to get something from somebody I haven't earned, or do I want to take advantage of someone and control them? And we also have to be careful, as Catherine talked about before, about agent provocateurs infiltrating movements and trying to divert them into a direction that we don't intend for them to go, or false flagging, where people try to do a similar thing, only they get up in the media and say, hey, I'm a libertarian, or hey, I'm part of the Free State Project, and look at me, I'm a nutcase, and try to discredit the whole movement. So we've got to be careful of those things, and one way that you can easily tell that someone is an agent provocateur, if they're the guy who's trying to get you to do something bad. It's really that simple. We also have to understand the myth of justice. Everybody has heard the civil rights slogan, no justice, no peace. Well, that cuts two ways. The first interpretation of this slogan is, if you don't give me justice, I'm going to riot. That's a lot of what happened with some of the radicals in the 60s. You don't give me justice, I'm going to take action. Well, there's another interpretation of this, which is more sinister for the long term, which is, you don't give me justice, I'm not going to buy into your civilization. I'm going to be a radical, not to get in the cameras and get upset, but I'm going to be a radical. I'm going to actually actively work to undermine civilization itself. And we're heading in that direction because we as a society have learned the key of how to manufacture domestic terrorists on a large scale. I'll get into some examples of how we do that. First, the California Arsonist and Animal Abuser Registries. Who's heard of these things? Anybody? Okay, a few of you. In California today, there is an arsonist registry similar to sexual predator registries. You start a fire, you get convicted, then everybody knows about you because they can look you up online and see your picture and where you live, things like that. They're proposing in California an animal abuser registry. You kick a dog, now you're on the same website. Well, unfortunately, some very knowledgeable people who should know better, such as a DA from Oregon, this was quoted in I think it was a New York Times article. Do these registries turn a person into a pariah? No, but it gives a potential employer some information about that person. Well, what we've done in that case is we've created a second-class citizen. Because if you say to someone, I'm going to tell everyone you might get a job with. If you and I were to do that, it'd be slander or libel or whatever it's called. But it's okay for the government to do that because we're protecting the citizenry against this bad person. But that creates an obvious economic disadvantage for even the convicted person. Has he been punished for his crime? If so, why are we continuing to punish him? Why are we continuing to tighten the screws on this individual? So here are some examples of people that we create in this country that have nothing left to lose and, of course, are not inclined to buy into civilization. The first obvious group is sexual offenders and some of these other registrants. If they are truly bad people, keep them in jail or execute them, but don't put them back out on the street if you think they're a problem and then say, well, I'm too nice to keep them in jail, so now I'm going to hound them for the rest of their life. And besides, some of these people may actually be innocent. And I know, especially on the web, that probably shocked a lot of people when I said some of these people may be innocent. But that's kind of the point, isn't it? That we've created people who it is politically incorrect on both sides to defend. Not only has their life been ruined and they've been placed in this second-class citizen status, but we've done it in such a way that it is uncomfortable to say anything in their behalf. They're not all. Convicted drug offenders. Just like it is unreasonable for me to have my freedom taken away for words that come out of my mouth or configurations I may place parts of my body in, it is also unreasonable to say someone should have their property and liberty taken away because they were in the presence or were exchanging certain molecules or plants with other people. That's ridiculous. Yet we've created second-class citizens. We've created people who we say it's okay to take everything you own, impoverish you, throw you in jail in some cases for life, for what is essentially enforcing a code of morality. Property seizure victims. We know the right will often whine that someone lost their house because someone else will pay more taxes on that property. We hear that all the time from the right. Yet those same people have no problem for someone's house or car to be seized because there were drugs found there, even if those drugs were later found to be planted. A second-class citizen who has nothing left to lose. We have a bunch of people in this country who were recently in the middle class. But through forces out of their control, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit too, they find themselves impoverished. They spent their whole lives buying into the system, working hard, and now, boom, we steal from them and we give it away to the bankers. We have dispossessed fathers in this country. Again, another group where we say, oh, he's a bad guy, he's a deadbeat dad. Okay, sure. But are these people who we are saying we're going to take every dime they make in some cases, buying into the system? Because many of these people are saying, if you're going to take every dime I make, I'm just not going to work very much. Does the child benefit from that? Does the child benefit from the hostility we create between moms and dads by doing that? We're solving the wrong problems with these draconian measures. How many kids have been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder in school? Well, when I was in the Marine Corps and I was on recruiting duty in Cincinnati, it was my job as an operations officer to decide who would get into the Marine Corps and who wouldn't. Well, surprise, surprise, if you had been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder and been placed on drugs, you now have a diagnosis of mental issues and you have a history of prescription drugs for psychological issues, and that would require a waiver to get into the Marine Corps. That follows those kids forever. And enough of those closed doors are harder to open doors, creates a mindset in the guy when he gets old enough that this isn't my civilization. This isn't my country. This isn't something I'm going to invest myself in. Zero tolerance victims are a similar group. Schools now have no bullying policies. No bullying policy means a bully messes with you and you fight back like is in our soul as Americans. Americans fight back when we're pushed. And we tell these kids, though, if a bully comes up to you and you fight back, you defend yourself, you protect yourself, and you're in trouble too, and in some cases more trouble than the bully, because the bully's probably a problem anyway. Well, now the kid who had a future, who merely defended himself against the bully, he now is a violent guy. And that also has to be tracked for the rest of his life. Tax seizure victims. Everybody knows about Joe Stack. We'll see in a little bit how tax seizures are going to become a much more major issue in the very near future. But the government can go in, of course, and take everything you own, freeze your accounts, and essentially create a person with nothing left to lose. And we can go on and on and on about categories of people that we're creating, which, if I were a bad guy, and I wanted to create a revolutionary force in this country for ill purposes, or if I was Al-Qaeda and I wanted to recruit domestic terrorists, I would take this list. And I would go to the courthouses, and I would look at the dockets, and I would send out some people, and I would do some interviews. And if I had unlimited funding as an Al-Qaeda mastermind, I guarantee you, within 3 months, I could have thousands of domestic terrorists out there doing harm.